Awesome. Hello. How's it going, everyone? Good? How's the day? Good? Yeah, you sound super enthusiastic. It's the last talk of the day. I have the privilege of having the last talk of the day. Thank you very much for joining me. You can be in anywhere else, but you are here, which is awesome. So I'll be mindful of your time. This was sort of a last-minute talk that has been evolved from a couple meetups talks that I have thrown together. And just quickly, the Node folks on the weekend were like, hey, you want to do a talk? And I was like, yes. Cool. So today I'm going to be talking a little bit about things that you may not know about NPM and some cool stuff that we're doing. That said, before we get started, last talk of the day, I'm sure everybody's tired. Would you do me a favor and all stand up? Okay, we're gonna get the blood, we're gonna get blood circulating, okay? And if you can, give me a big stretch. Right up, and take a big deep breath. Hold it, hold it, hold it, and exhale. Okay, you can sit down. Got some oxygen in your heads now. Hopefully, last talk of the day, you'll listen and retain some of the information that I've got. Awesome, cool, so let's get started. My name is Darcy Clarke. That's a cool little astronaut hat. I have a background as sort of a developer, designer, speaker, entrepreneur, mentor, UX advocate. I love designs. My official title right now is the engineering manager for community and open source at NPM Inc., this small little company. This was a good note. I stole this idea from Miles this morning, that opinions are my own, indeed. The love I give is also my own, and so the love I give to you, it is mine. And I give it to you as a real human being, free of charge, and we can have hugs later if you want. They're free of charge. Quick show of hands. Who writes JavaScript? Yes, you are my people. Who writes Node? Okay, even better, you're at the right conference. NPM, who uses NPM? Great, thank you, thank you. Who uses Yarn? It's okay. That's okay, we're all friends. Anybody use Yarn with the PMP flag? Anybody test that out? No? Plug and play? Okay. Anybody use PMPM? Anybody? Hey, cool, okay, cool. You're probably thinking, is he having a stroke? What's PMPM? Cool. So I'm sure everybody has run this, right? Anybody run this today? Anybody? Yeah? A couple? Roy, who works on my team. So you do this a lot, right? You do this a lot. And your CI systems are probably running this, right? They run this a lot, even more, lot. This is sort of the Bart Simpson writing on a chalkboard type thing. How many downloads do you think are installs or package downloads do you think are in a month? And for the folks, don't go cheating and go check what it is. Any ideas, guesses? Across all NPM in the last month. Last month. 32. Whoa, okay. Joe, I like that. Anybody else? Any guesses? 100 million? Anybody gonna go for one Price is Right style? No? Yeah, okay, so we are 58 plus billion. So you guys really like to install, you folks like to install packages, right? And just to show you a little graph about this sort of exponential growth, NPM celebrated its 10-year anniversary a couple months ago, and we have this nice little video. I'm not sure if we're gonna have audio. So we're 10 years old as of, I think, September. jQuery moves plugins to NPM. Awesome. Huge milestones, right? NPM 5's released in 2017. NPX. A lot of people use NPX. Anybody? Yeah, nice. One of the best things in the world, yeah. Holy cow. So over 1 million packages published. That's awesome. 10 years. Cool. So that's all awesome, but let's look beyond that, right? You do this thing a lot, you know it a lot, you probably know it really, you probably know it better than I do. So let's talk about these things, these disparate things. We're going to talk about the packament. How many know what that is already? Not a lot of people. Great, sweet. I'm going to tell you a little bit about something that you don't know. We're going to talk a little bit about sustainability, the community, maintenance and contributing, and a few other things. I'm even going to showcase some cool stuff that I don't think you've seen yet. So what happens when you install sort of the Coles notes here? We actually fetch this thing called a packament. And so the npm CLI fetches the packament, and that has a reference to where the tarball lives, where essentially your package is actually living at rest, and we go and we download that tarball, unpack it, and do a bunch of other stuff. So packament, if you're wondering, yes, it is just a really, really hacky word that we threw together, and it's a package document, right? So if you ever hear node folks talking about packament objects or documents, they're talking about package documents. Fun, right? Cool. It's kind of like codec, right? Everybody know codec is like also like, yeah, okay. Well, I don't know. A lot of people didn't know. That's like just like compression and decompression, codec, put it together. Really cool. Sorry? Coder, decoder. Yeah, coder or encoding. Cool. So this is what it looks like. This is sort of the shape of this object. It looks a lot like a package JSON, right? It's got a bunch of information in here, but it's got some information in here that you may not have thought. It's got references to maintainers. It's got references to all the versions that you've published. And actually, if we look, I can show you a live version of this. So here's Lodash's packament. It's sort of, it's got things like disk tags on it. This is mutable data that essentially npm controls. And so let's say you add or remove somebody from your team, the maintainers object will update accordingly, right? So this is not immutable data. This is mutable data that is not a one-to-one mapping to your package JSON, but it's something a little bit more substantial. And you can actually go and check out this information. The URL is just registry.unjs.org, and then the package name, right? Cool. So if you take away one thing from this doc, and you're like, Darcy told me one thing, when you hear packament is not equal to a package JSON file. It is mutable record. And npm is typically the source of truth for all your packages, in most cases. If you've ever used Yarn, Yarn has an alias, or essentially a CNAME, which I forget what the actual domain is, but we actually map right directly to the npm registry. So if you're using Yarn, you're actually using the npm registry still. And for GitHub package registry, if you can't find the package in there, if GitHub can't find the package information, it will actually just proxy down to npm, which is, so npm, the registry is essentially the source of truth for npm packages. Cool. So that's a little bit about sort of interesting information that about your packages you may not know, and sort of high-level concept around that. Let's talk a little bit about open source sustainability. So did anybody get this prompt over the summer? Anybody see this? Anybody use standard.js, right? Ran a little experiment to try to figure out a way or a mechanism to help fund his open source efforts. And so what they were doing there was essentially running a post-install script to generate an ad in your terminal, right? That sounds kind of messy, and it is. And it's not necessarily something that we think is actually good for the community. So npm, unfortunately, had to sort of enforce our policies and say, you know, advertising in your terminal, post-install scripts, this is sort of abusive. We don't want to see these types of things happening. This is definitely something that we don't think is good for the community. That said, it was, you know, definitely a symptom of something that that we know that we needed to address, which was how do we support open source software development? How do we make it economical and sustainable for developers to essentially make money through their work? And so we wrote this blog post in late August, and the key here was we noted, we know this has been a long time coming. NPM's in a great position to help address this problem, and the time to solve it is now. And just so you know, I've been at NPM for all of about 4 months, and this happened to coincide with me starting there, so this became my #1 goal, is to how do we help or make a difference here. So as of NPM 6.13, we landed something called funding. Who's heard of funding field? Anybody? Nice, nice. Anybody using it? Anybody define it for the packages? Wes? Nice. Roy? Hopefully you tested it. Roy in the back works on my own team. He's actually the person that implemented it in the CLI. So the funding field looks like this. And this was a spec in sort of a shape that we had been seeing other third-party sort of teams like Open Collective and the package maintenance working group had also started to draft a schema around this type of field that would help define a reference to a means for you to drive traffic for, specifically for an option to fund your open source development. So this is what it has. It's a funding field, and it's got 2 keys there, type and URL. Type is pretty ambiguous right now. We don't actually have any kind of like way of sort of transforming from the URL back down to, let's say, GitHub. And in the future, we could see this being utilized for things like foundation or corporate, or the terminology could eventually become more meaningful. But right now, the type is pretty much there for decoration. The URL is a really important piece in this spec. So something interesting now happens as of NPM 6.13. When you run npm install, you get this nice little prompt. 3 packages are looking for funding. Now it's going to change. This number changes every time you run this. But what we are doing is essentially bubbling up when your dependencies have defined this field. We're bubbling up the fact that somebody has explicitly noted that they would love if you could help fund them, or that they have a mechanism for you to help fund or give them money. And if you run the npm fund command, it will actually print out this nice tree, do some deduping as well, which is really nice, and showcase these references. And then if you actually run npm fund with the name of the package, it works very similar to npm repo, in which it will try to figure out where to essentially open up a browser and where to send traffic. So I'll show you what that looks like. So here I've got a terminal, and this is, I'm going to say, what version am I on? 6.13, awesome. If I run npm init, yes, I create a new package JSON, I install some deps. I'm going to install this nice dependency I've made called sleepover. It's really fun, it's cool. And I've defined the funding field in my package JSON. So if I run npm fund, it shows me my information. So I have a GitHub sponsors page that I referenced. And if I run npm fund sleepover, it actually prompts and opens up that page, right? So you can immediately go and donate or become a sponsor to me. Feel free to buy me a coffee if you'd like. It's only $5 a month to support me. Shameless plug. Cool. So this is something we think is really meaningful, impactful. It's really just the first step in us trying to help solve this problem with the community. And we're excited about where we think it can actually take us and sort of moving forward. And we've got some cool stuff coming down the pipeline that I'll talk to in a couple of minutes here. So let's talk a little bit about community. So for NPM, over the last few years, we had actually last year we sort of jumped over and started using discourse forums to run most of our community discussion through and discourse through. And we've actually since archived that discourse forum and are now driving our community back to GitHub and GitHub issues. We reopened issues on the CLI, which was much appreciated, I think, by a number of folks in the community. And if you actually go to the landing page today, you'll see a number of pieces of information about a public events calendar that we now have available, references to our documentation, our more tailored support portal, as well as the archive forums, which still do exist. And let's talk a little bit about maintenance. So if you ever want to know the health of, let's say, the registry, you can always go check status.npmjs.org. But there's actually a new project that we've kicked off, my team has kicked off, called essentially the project status board. So you can actually go to our GitHub org, and you can go check out the health of all of our open source projects. And we're starting to bubble up this information, not only for our own team to identify where we need to essentially fix or increase test coverage or update licensing or terms or what packages have vulnerabilities, which will help define essentially where we spend our time. But this is great to also showcase and be proud of when, let's say, the test coverage is 100% on a bunch of packages. It's great to show the community that that we're working hard here. So this is a sort of a net new tool that we're using. It's inspired by Wes Todd, who works on package maintenance working group, works at Netflix. He built something very similar for Express, and we sort of took this concept and have been running with it. We've got some really cool features here. You can show and hide columns. You can be like, who still supports like npm or Node version 0.8? Yeah, no joke. Like, I think we need to like archive that project. So yeah, and test coverage is like terrible. So we need to get that in shape. So this is really, for me, in terms of like an engineering manager or a project manager or product manager, this is really good because it helps identify in sort of a high-level view the health of our projects at NPM. So contributing. So if you're contributing to open source or you're considering contributing to open source, we've been trying to evolve and sort of grow the story of how you can contribute to NPM and our work. We are usually as radically transparent as possible. You can actually go check out our Kanban board. You can go see like how many people have like an open Jira or Kanban board that, like everybody in the world can look at. Anybody? Anybody? There's a couple, yeah? Wow, okay, if you're maybe in the open source, there's a couple teams that will have like an open GitHub projects board. I don't know any other team that does this, so just can't wait until somebody like makes fun of me for like how I've named my columns or when we like start to move our epics around. It's gonna be real fun. But you can actually we've started to use Zen Hub, so it essentially adds a layer on top of GitHub projects or like GitHub issues and pull requests. This is what our board looks like right now. You can actually go see what we're prioritizing. You can see how we're prioritizing the work that we're doing. And you can actually issues that you'll make and PRs that you'll make will actually land in this board. And you can see how they move across from a backlogged ticket to a to-do to something that's in progress, in review, done, and then closed off. And we're really excited about this and sort of sharing this with the community. You can actually see how we're operating day to day. And hopefully, it becomes a nice source of truth for us being just radically transparent with the work that we're doing. Awesome. So we also have obviously open issues and PRs now. Issues were reopened on the CLI, which was really nice. We have this concept of RFCs, so you can actually request a feature from us, from NPM, the CLI, the registry. If you go to our GitHub org, and at the very top, we have a project called RFCs. You can actually create a pull request and ask or sort of outline a feature that you'd like to see us implement. And going further, we've started to run OpenRC calls bi-weekly, taking sort of the learnings from the Node Foundation, the way they operate, and the OpenJS Foundation, and running bi-weekly meetings that anybody can join. We stream them on YouTube, and you can actually join the Zoom calls. You can see, here's some lovely faces. You can go, there's archived. I mean, I'm in the middle of saying something here. Roy's, yeah, Roy's. You look pretty disinterested. But yeah, this is awesome. So we're creating these sort of artifacts about how, how we're operating and why we're making decisions. And we're also hoping that, you will come collaborate with us, have discussions with us, and you're totally enabled to come do that. We would be excited if you came and joined us. We've got a number of these calls now on our YouTube page that are backlogged. So as well as we have docs, that's a reference to our old docs. I may or may not have a link for you to use to go check out our net new docs. You can go to preview-docs.npmjs.com and you'll actually see a new experience. We're currently still baking this, but it is the most up-to-date actual source of truth for our docs. We're going to give them a nice little rebrand and refresh, which is awesome, and we're hoping this is going to really help. We're going to include search in this as well, with something that people have asked for years, like, hey, can I search the docs? Can I easily navigate? We know that's been tough. We're trying to fix that. So if you go to preview.docs.npmjs.com, you can go see this new experience. It's awesome. Cool. We also my team actively works very closely with the Node Foundation. We're sitting on some of the working groups, including the package maintenance working group and the tooling working group. So if you're ever looking around and trying to see what we're doing in the open source world, you'll probably find us in those calls. So what's next for NPM? What's some cool stuff that I can share with you? So coming down the pipeline, we have the concept of multiple funding entries. So Jordan Harvin, who actually works on MVM. So who uses MVM here? Lots of folks, right? It's awesome. Which just got recently pulled into the OpenJS Foundation, which is awesome. Yeah, go. Joe's like, yeah. It's awesome, and he's been helping us. He wants to see essentially that idea of a single record for funding turn into multiple records that can be utilized for, let's say, multiple maintainers, or let's say maybe Patreon links or something like that, right? There's a lot of opportunity here, and we're currently sort of sussing out the RFC for it. NPM 7 has been on our backlog for a long time. We're actively working on it, and we have queued up the concept of workspaces, which we know people have told us for forever. We have workspaces in Yarn, Lerna, we want them from NPM. It's coming. Also, with the refactoring work that we've been doing, there's a whole bunch of performance wins that we've been seeing, and it's just cleaning up the code. We are hopefully going to have NPM 7, a version of NPM 7 staged, and ready to be consumed, not ready to be released fully, but in early Q1. Stage publishes and scoped auth tokens are something that I'm championing internally right now to try to sort of sophisticate the CI publish workflow for folks. And if you're interested in this, feel free to ping me afterwards. There's a lot that's going into this. There's a lot of discussion that's going into this. And the last thing here is package exploration and package diffing. I'm sure you've always wanted this, right? Why has this never been a thing on npmjs.com? Why the source of truth for my packages is NPM. Why do I have to go to GitHub and check out a repo, which may or may not be the same thing? So who would like a demo of some cool stuff? Yeah? I can't hear you. No? Yeah? Okay, sweet. So I'm going to demo some stuff for you right now. Try to go as quickly as possible. But what I'm going to demo is actually live right now. We pushed yesterday, and there were some folks that I'm not sure if they're here. No, Jason Miller from Google sort of undercut me quickly. Oh, and PS, I was like, I knew you would want to see a demo, so I was like, nice, cool. So he quickly found this, and I'm sure if you've already been to the website, you may have seen it already. We've been making some edits to npmjs.com. We've been making some improvements. First of which is some, CSS love, which will continue to happen. The mobile experience right now isn't great. We're going to continue to make that better. But what you may or may not have seen, we now have a nice new tab on your package pages. Can anybody figure out which one's new? Explore, right, cool. Cool, you're like, woo, Darcy, come on. Oh, Lodash doesn't work, okay. Actually, am I logged in? So we have and I'm gonna start to show you. What, Roy, you giving me a hard time? Oh yeah, okay, React. So 2 things to note, actually. So this is a perfect example. Thank goodness I went to this first. And I told JDD, if he's in the audience, which he's not, that I would go Lodash first. This is a very limited beta. We haven't fully baked this. There's lots of features that we're going to be rolling out soon. But this is definitely something that we've heard everybody wants. If you go to, let's say, React, you can actually go around. There's limited availability as well. So your user account has to be a paid Teams to get access to this today, although we'll be rolling out to everybody in the future. Go ahead.
Is this expanding the tarball or looking at the repo link?
Nope, it's expanding the tarball. This is the source of truth, which is also why you might see this nice little integrity and SHA-SUM value at the bottom here. Just to let you know, this is exactly what is in the registry. And you can click around, you can look at your files, and you can be like, oh my goodness, like, this is crazy, Facebook. And some really crazy, we're gonna look at some licensing here stuff. What's really interesting is, you get like versioning for free. So let's go to like an old version of this package, 6.11. And we go back to the Explore page. Let's look at package JSON. Look at this, I'm on 6.11, pretty awesome. You'll notice that the install script has also been updated so that it actually adds the specific version you're looking at. So you can copy and paste that and quickly install that specific version. So there's all these little tweaks. There's all these amazing things that we are rolling out from our team, from the team at NPM. Thank you very much. You'll notice some other improvements in the sidebar. Everybody was getting tired of seeing GitHub everywhere on your package page. It's like they owned the world, right? Like GitHub, GitHub, GitHub. It's like, come on, like there's my name's in there somewhere, right? github.com/Darcy Clarke, right? So we re-expanded the URLs for repos and home pages. This was sort of a pain point. People were not, like this didn't look very good. We also have now bubbled up the unpack size information there. We know that there's other community tools, bundlephobia, et cetera, that provide also this sort of metadata. We're working on giving you a better experience online here. So cool. Maybe there's a better. Yeah, I know. Come on, Roy. Whoa, man. Come on. You're like giving away the. Here, we'll show you one more. Is Mount good? Yeah, this one is like super deeply nested like information. Cool. So let's go to a package page that has defined funding. So my cool little sleepover package. Look at that. Look at this new little button, right? So again, very similar. GitHub sponsors and Open Collective. There's a million different ways for open source developers now to try to make money. We wanted a mechanism, again, to make this meaningful. So when you define that funding field, we now will add this button to your package page. It quickly will, as you would guess, when I click it, it's going to take me to that link, right? And yeah, so like lots of cool little improvements. Over time, we imagine this to expand when we have multiple funding. We're going to have some new capabilities there and GUI options. Roy, am I missing anything now? We good? Think we're good? Are you sure we're good? Well, we can. I don't know. Is there anything else? I think we're good. So that's just a few. Sorry. So we do have RunKit. So if you've ever gone to a website or npm package page, sorry, and you've seen this little button, you click on it, it takes you to RunKit, which you can actually start to play with, let's say, the npm package. Just so you know, I do have code maybe sitting on a branch for having this embed in the actual website itself. So that may be coming as well. So if I say sleep, let's say pulling this guy out, I'm going to say sleep for 202 seconds, then we'll console log, hello, and you can just, this library sleepover essentially is using Atomic's wait to halt execution and then do something. So this is actually running in the browser. So yeah, this is a sandbox in REPL in the browser if you've never seen it before. So this is on every package page. So kind of fun to be like, if you want to try something, you can just click on that button, try it out. It's pretty awesome. Cool. So I think that's about it. I think that's all I got for you. There may or may not be an extra command here or there that you can run to see some cool stuff in your free time. If you happen to run npm xmas, it might do something. But yeah, again, I'll be here actually all week. The Collaborator Summit for a lot of Node.js folks that are Node.js Foundation folks are getting together on the 13th, 14th, where we'll be discussing sort of the future of standards, spec, and for us, npm. So feel free to join us at that. You can follow me. I have the sweet Twitter handle called @Darcy, my first name, pretty sweet. I get a lot of Mr. Darcy references. Feel free to follow me there, and thank you very much for listening.